Tappahannock, Newland, Warsaw. This is all going to work its way over onto the southern Maryland side of things here in just about 20-30 minutes. But just off to the north from Fredericksburg and Stafford, Quantico, we've got heavy rain, we've got thunder, lightning, no severe characteristics to these storms right now. And they're also moving off to the north and east. So continuing to move through parts of Charles County, eventually going to clip Prince George's County as well. And then north and west of D.C., just kind of rain. We've got dreary conditions back through parts of Loudoun County into Winchester along parts of 70 and 68. You've got a little thunder and lightning from Hancock over toward Cumberland, Romney, Moorfield. Just some showers for now. But let me get you a wider perspective because we still have a ways to go. Again, our weather impact alert goes until midnight tonight. That severe thunderstorm watch until 10 p.m. because there's another heftier line of storms well off to our west through the Ohio River Valley, producing a number of severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. So we'll be tracking that out and timing that out for you here coming up in just a few minutes. But first, we want to send things back over to meteorologist Grace Thornton. She's got more until 4:45 this afternoon. That new warning in effect until 5 o'clock. That includes Anne Arundel, Calvert, Charles, and Prince George's County. Now, these storms are moving quickly. That's good news. That's going to help keep the flooding risk at bay as we head through the evening tonight. The bigger concern will be if we get another round of storms later tonight where we already see some of these heavier downpours, then we could be looking at a more elevated flooding risk. But these storms are severe for the potential for some damaging wind gusting up to 60 miles per hour. So that storm going to move into parts of Clinton here around 4:30, near North Beach around 4:40, closer to Upper Marlboro around 4:45, Northwest Stadium. You've got until around 4:52 if you are in the area, and then into Shadyside just before 5 o'clock tonight. So these storms again right now producing some heavy rain, very vivid thunder and lightning. You've got to seek proper shelter if you are in the region because we could see some of those heftier winds, gusts of wind as well. Now off to the south, we're also tracking some stronger storms working their way through far southern St. Mary's County around Scotland Beach back toward Tappahannock. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning just off to the south and west there near parts of Ashland. So most of the storm activity right now is working its way through southern Maryland, drifting off to the north and east with rain off to the north and west of D.C. from Frederick back into Hagerstown, Berkeley Springs, Cumberland. Right now, just light to moderate rain, but we are keeping an eye on a stronger line of storms just off to the west that has produced a number of severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. That's what's going to move through most of the region here over the next 3 to 4 hours. So we've got a weather impact alert in effect until midnight tonight, the severe thunderstorm watch until 10 p.m. The biggest concern as these storms develop will be damaging wind. Again, localized flooding really a concern if either the storms slow down or if you're in an area that gets repeatedly hit with storms as we head through the evening tonight. The risk for tornadoes has gone down a bit, not going to completely rule it out, but with a warm front far enough to the north and east, that has decreased our chance of seeing some rotation just a bit here over the next several hours. But you still need to make sure you have a place to seek shelter as storms develop tonight. Again, not just for tornado warnings, but for severe thunderstorm warnings as well, especially the storms that are popping now. They're producing a lot of thunder and lightning. You need to make sure you are in a safe space as storms roll through. We're going to see a really slow evening commute. And remember, great time to have the WUSA 9 app so you get alerts sent straight to your phone if a storm does develop. So this is Futurecast around 6 o'clock. Still tracking a lot of those hefty storms closer to the 95 corridor around Metro DC. Now by 9 o'clock, they're moving so quickly, they're mainly across the bay. Maybe a few leftover showers or rumble of thunder later tonight, but not a whole lot on the map around 11 o'clock. Now overnight and into Wednesday morning, I do still think we'll still see periodic showers, maybe a few embedded thunderstorms, so it might be a little slow going for Wednesday morning, but most of tomorrow does look dry. Best chance to see some of those lingering showers and storms, especially into the afternoon, is going to be southern Maryland, parts of Virginia as you get closer to Fredericksburg and points south along the 95 corridor. And then we'll continue to clear skies out throughout the rest of your Wednesday forecast, and it turns into a really nice second half of the week. It's still going to be quite muggy and quite warm tomorrow. Temperatures back near 90, but dropping humidity in the second half of the day is going to help cool us off for Thursday and the end of the week. We're talking low 80s for high temperatures Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. You pair that with nice low humidity, it is going to feel fantastic. Now by Sunday, temperatures start to creep up a bit, a little bit more humidity back in the forecast as well. And then as we head into next week, starts to feel a little bit more like July again, with temperatures in the upper 80s, low 90s, high humidity, and a few isolated storm chances.
The Thursday through Sunday is such a nice stretch, yes. Right? Okay, great. Thank you, Kaitlyn.
To the north and west, but we'll start off with where we now have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for this kind of cluster of storms working its way out of Prince George's County, out of Charles County into Prince George's County, parts of Anne Arundel and Calvert County as well. So both of these warnings go in effect until 5 o'clock tonight. You can see some very vivid thunder and lightning, especially around Prince George's County, some heavy rain. These are listed as severe for wind potential, wind that could gust up to 60 miles per hour. But right now, Clinton down into Brandywine, right around 3:01. That's where we're seeing the worst of this weather. Going to move closer to Morningside, Northwest Stadium here over, say, the next 20 or 30 minutes. These storms are moving quickly off to the north and east around 30 miles per hour. Now, we do still have another heavier batch of storms we're tracking a little farther off to our south. But if you're down near Tappahannock, Newland, you've got some heavy rain, thunder, lightning, parts of Westmoreland, King George County, heavy rain and lightning that's continuing to move through parts of southern St. Mary's County down by Scotland Beach. You've got a little bit of nasty weather to get through here over the next, I would say, at least hour, because these storms are again continuing to move off to the north and east, and still plenty of activity off to the south and west. Now back into Frederick County, Loudoun County, you've got a little bit of heavy rain, no thunder and lightning, but I am keeping an eye on what's working its way into far western Maryland right now. A severe thunderstorm warning was just issued for parts of Garrett County, likely going to see that expand farther off to the east here into parts of West Virginia and Allegheny County. So the entire region now under severe thunderstorm watch until 10 o'clock tonight. We still have a ways to go before these storms clear out of here. So coming up, I'll take you hour by hour through our round of storms tonight. Look ahead to a little bit more wet weather for Wednesday, but then we 180 the forecast. It's going to be beautiful for the second half of the week. I'll have those details straight ahead.
Looking forward to that. And we're also
later Wednesday evening and into the overnight, but you can see the center of the storm right now just a few miles off the coast of the panhandle of Florida, but those outer convective bands impacting parts of Florida, Georgia, into Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, already seeing the impacts as well. Right now the winds with Bertha are at 60 miles per hour, but gusting up to 70. So that storm is going to continue to skirt right along the Gulf Coast here as we head throughout the rest of the evening tonight into Wednesday, and then likely making landfall near New Orleans by about 7 o'clock Wednesday evening, and then just hugging the coast, probably just enough to keep pulling in some of that warm Gulf moisture, but close enough on land to not strengthen any farther. So that is good news there. As it continues to interact with land, it will gradually weaken throughout Wednesday night and into Thursday, but still forecast to bring a lot of rain, some of those heavy downpours, possible flash flooding along the Gulf Coast and into Texas as we head through the end of the week.
Some good news,
because they are producing some really heavy downpours, lots of thunder and lightning. You can see this cluster of storms right now that has kind of 3 severe thunderstorm warnings covering it in effect until 5:15 there as it moves into parts of Anne Arundel County, but just now working its way out of parts of Prince George's County and Calvert County, upper Marlboro down into Dunkirk. That's where we have the really heavy rain, thunder, lightning, likely some gusty wind as well. That's the severe threat for these storms. Winds gusting potentially up to 60 miles per hour. So this is going to move into Queen Anne here pretty much any minute now, into Shadyside within the next 10-15 minutes or so, closer to Annapolis by 5:15, into Arnold by 5:20. Now off to the south, still tracking some storms through parts of southern St. Mary's County down by Scotland Beach. Not a whole lot of activity, just some moderate to heavy rain, a few cracks of thunder and lightning. I am watching this little storm develop through parts of Frederick County back into Loudoun County, stretching from Brunswick just to the south of Frederick and into Mount Airy. Just some heavy rain, thunder, lightning. No severe characteristics to this right now, but it is picking up in intensity just a little bit. Also watching carefully what's working its way into parts of western Maryland. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Garrett County, a tornado warning just off to the west of that. There has been a little bit of rotation in that batch of storms that's continuing to work its way through the Ohio River Valley, parts of West Virginia, and closer to our region. So even if it hasn't stormed yet, just wait, we do still have several more hours again of these strong and severe storms to get through. This is Futurecast around 6 o'clock, and keep in mind Futurecast is an imperfect model, doesn't pinpoint exactly where it's going to be storming and when, but you get the idea that we'll still be tracking a very active radar around 6 o'clock. But by 8, 9 o'clock, these storms are working their way east of the bay over onto the eastern shore. We'll have a mainly dry second half of the evening. By 11 o'clock, maybe a few leftover sprinkles. Not going to rule out an isolated storm or two late into the evening and overnight. By 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, though, most areas are waking up to dry conditions. Still probably going to be a little damp outside because it's just so humid. It's muggy. The roads still might be a little bit wet for your Wednesday morning commute, but the best chance to see some leftover showers, possibly an embedded thunderstorm tomorrow, is going to be along and south of I-66 through parts of the northern neck into southern Maryland. Could see a few heftier storms, especially as you get closer to St. Mary's County, Charles County, as we head toward 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 p.m. Still a few lingering showers, but most areas are dry tomorrow. The isolated showers and storms are going to be just that, very isolated. Otherwise, I would plan on a blend of sunshine and clouds for Wednesday with temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, feeling more like the low 90s as we work out the last of the humidity. It's going to feel much more comfortable even as soon as Wednesday night, but then by Thursday, it is going to be spectacular. We totally cut out humidity. Temperatures will be in the low 80s, lots of sunshine, gorgeous as we head into the weekend as well. We'll start to increase humidity just a bit on Sunday with temperatures back in the mid 80s, still below average for the end of July. And then it starts to feel a little more summer-like early next week. Temperatures back near 90, a touch of humidity, and daily storm chances Monday into Tuesday.
That's a nice way to get into the weekend. Kaitlyn, thank you.
On the border of Anne Arundel and Prince George's, south of Bowie near Upper Marlboro, Queen Anne, you've got some heavy rain, thunder, lightning, lightly seeing some hail in this storm as well. In addition to that heavy rain, thunder, and lightning right between Harwood and Bayard. You can see that little hail core underneath the lightning. So if you are in the area, if you can, pull your car inside. I would also plan on some really powerful wind in that storm as well. Now, St. Mary's County still just seeing light to moderate rain, a few cracks of thunder and lightning in far southern St. Mary's County. And also watching this little line right here. It's been strengthening just a bit as it progresses off to the east-northeast between Mount Airy, just south of Frederick, over into Brunswick. Some heavy rain, thunder, and lightning in parts of Frederick County, but also watching what's moving in just off to the west of Garrett County. We do have a tornado warning in effect right now, so we'll be watching that storm as it continues to move into our region. But first, do want to check in with meteorologist Grace Thornton. She's several hours. We'll still continue to see some of these embedded downpours and thunderstorms, but there is a much heftier line of storms that we're tracking for later tonight. So here's Doppler radar right now. Just kind of hit or miss showers and storms. We are still keeping an eye on that little line working its way through Frederick County over by Mount Airy into Carroll County. Some heavy rain, thunder, lightning right along I-70 stretching from Mount Airy into Frederick just to the north of Tuscarora. A few spotty sprinkles as you get down near Charlestown and over by Brunswick. We do now have a little downpour stretching between Sterling and Reston, working its way closer to Montgomery County. You can see a little crack of lightning there in Silver Spring, but a lot of folks again are in the clear for now. But check out this wider view of our satellite and radar imagery. This is what we're going to be watching for later tonight. That hefty line of storms through the Ohio River Valley, producing a number of severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings. Now, keep in mind, by the time that gets to us, we will have lost a lot of the heating of the day. It's not looking like it's until around 9, 10 o'clock tonight. So that should help keep the severe risk a little bit more at bay. Still plenty of instability in the atmosphere, but once you lose the daylight, we do typically start to see the atmosphere stabilize a bit. But this is 9 o'clock. You can see that line of storms closer to the I-81 corridor into the metro area. By 10, 11 o'clock, these storms do still have some good forward motion on them. Everything we've seen move through so far has been moving around 30 miles per hour. That's going to help keep the flood risk at bay. The concern is where we've already seen storms, and then we get another round later tonight that could lead to some localized flooding where storm drains are a little clogged, rivers and streams have already risen a bit, so we're not going to rule out some flooding, but once again, we'll be watching for some hefty downpours, damaging wind, thunder and lightning as we head through the late evening hours, even overnight, a few leftover showers and storms. Now, most of Wednesday will be dry. We'll see a blend of sunshine and clouds. Still going to feel like a very summer-like day with temperatures in the upper 80s, feeling more like the low 90s, and there will still be a few isolated showers and storms, mainly through parts of southern Maryland, the northern neck of Virginia, a little farther off to the south of D.C. That's the best chance to see some leftover storm activity as that cold front finally pushes through on Wednesday. So Wednesday is going to start off pretty sticky, but then later at night, as soon as that front passes through, humidity drops off. It is going to feel fantastic for Thursday into the start of the weekend. Friday and Saturday, really nice. Sunday, still very comfortable, but you start to notice the dew points creeping back up, and then early next week starting to feel a little bit more like the end of July with temperatures in the low 90s, some higher humidity, and a few storm chances. But we've got a pretty sweet stretch of weather Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Even Sunday still very nice in the mid to upper 80s before that warmer weather does start to move in for early next week. We'll also catch a break from some showers and storms as we close out the week and head into the weekend. We've got the Nats at home as well. Great baseball weather Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Even Monday and Tuesday, not looking too bad. Just some isolated to scattered storms. Back with those temperatures that'll be a little bit warmer and the humidity that's a little bit higher.
Okay, thank you, Kaitlyn. So we are
storms to the north and west, and a few bubbles of some isolated downpours, thunder and lightning kind of scattered across the region. Most of our storms are going to move in later this evening, but right now we've got this storm developing through parts of Montgomery County. Some heavy rain stretching from Potomac over through Bethesda, just working its way out of Fairfax County. Only one crack of lightning associated with that, but still producing some really heavy rain as that drifts off to the north and east, still relatively quickly, around 30 miles per hour. Back into Frederick County, parts of Loudoun County, you've got pockets of moderate to heavy rain, a little lightning over by Mount Airy, and then off to the west, we've got more widespread rain, but right now, it's just rain. We do have some thunder and lightning in parts of Garrett County, so you can expect that to move over toward Kaiser and Cumberland here over the next several minutes, but still several hours before this main line of storms looks to move into our area. So don't be discouraged if you haven't seen rain or storms yet. They are coming. It's just going to be later at night, which cannot emphasize enough, does kind of change the severe weather game. I do still think some storms will be strong, possibly severe, but once we lose the heating of the day, once we lose the daylight, we'll kind of stabilize things just a bit. So still expecting heavy rain, thunder, lightning, possibly some damaging wind. The localized flooding threat really comes into play where we've already seen storms roll through because they are bringing in a lot of moisture. So any small rivers and streams that have already been hit, any roadways that might be a little bit ponded over, could see some urban street flooding later this evening. So still make sure you have that place to shelter as storms roll through later tonight. Little slow going depending on where you are, and of course we'll keep you updated as alerts come in right on our WUSA 9 app.
okay. We'll see you back here in a minute. Thank you.
Hopefully here over the next several hours. Big question is how much energy does it have as it continues to work its way east once we lose the heating of the day, once we lose the daylight, and does it track a little too far to the south to impact our region? But right now we still have some shower and storm activity, mainly through parts of northern and western Maryland. You can see Montgomery County starting to fill in a little bit more on radar with some heavy downpours, some thunder, some lightning, especially back towards Silver Spring, starting to move into parts of Prince George's County as well. But Fairland, only Rockville, heavy rain, thunder, lightning up to 70 into Germantown. You've got some heavy rain, a little lightning there as well. Poolesville, Tuscarora, also seeing some of these heavier downpours. Now Frederick County, a little bit more scattered. Northern Loudoun County, you've got a little bit of hit or miss rain. It starts to become a bit more widespread as you get back into Washington County, Hagerstown over by Cumberland, into Allegheny Allegheny County. Also starting to see some of that lightning work its way into Allegheny County right now. You can see most of Garrett County seeing light to moderate to even some heavy rain with some of those cracks of thunder and lightning. So we do still have several more hours to go. The severe thunderstorm watch is in effect until 10 p.m. We've got a weather impact alert until midnight tonight. So don't let your guard down just because you haven't seen a storm roll through quite yet. Now keep in mind, Futurecast is imperfect. I think it looks a little hefty here for 8, 9 o'clock, but I do like the general timing that line of storms that we're watching through West Virginia starts to move closer to the I-81 corridor and parts of northern Virginia as we get closer to the 9 o'clock hour. Some of those storms possibly making it through the metro by 11 p.m. and then we'll clear skies out a bit more overnight. Still not totally in the clear for Wednesday. We are expecting a few isolated showers and storms, mainly through parts of southern Maryland and the northern neck. Otherwise, going to be a pretty hot and humid day until that cold front passes through and we start to see those dew points drop off. But here's the latest on Tropical Storm Bertha. We just showed you the preps underway. That storm is just off the coast of the Florida Panhandle, about 100 miles west-southwest of Panama City, Florida, already bringing some of those outer convective bands to parts of Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, where we are expecting landfall likely sometime later tomorrow night. As that storm continues, it's kind of pretty steady westerly track, just going to hug the coast of Louisiana and move into Texas, staying enough over water that it'll kind of sustain that tropical storm strength, but also interacting enough with land that it's not forecast to strengthen. It'll weaken once it does make that landfall in Louisiana and continue to move into Texas as we get closer to the weekend. So tomorrow, still not totally rain-free. Don't let your guard down completely. We will have those few isolated showers and storms through parts of southern Maryland, parts of northern Virginia, but most areas do stay dry for Wednesday. Still going to be hot, still going to be a little sticky before we knock out that humidity throughout the day. But once the dew points drop, they stay down all the way through the start of the weekend. Looks gorgeous Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Talking mostly sunny skies, temperatures in the low 80s, nice and unseasonably cool for the end of July. And then we start to feel a little bit more like summer by Sunday, with temperatures creeping back into the mid to upper 80s with an increase in humidity. Low chance for an isolated shower or storm on Sunday. We'll have slightly better rain chances as we get back to work next week, both Monday and Tuesday. Nats are also back at home starting on Friday for a nice long homestand all the way through Wednesday. So lots of great opportunity to get out and watch some baseball.
Yeah, no kidding. We like it. Thank you, Kaitlyn. And remember, in the meantime, you can track our rain